Good evening, fellow friends for Telemundo Facebook Live. This is immigration attorney Alma Rosa Nieto. How are you? Look forward to getting many of your questions. I promised a topic and I'd like to develop it before we start with the questions, but start getting them ready or start typing them in, and our assistants and staff will filter them, and then I will read them and answer questions gladly. First one is, many people think that because they are stuck with an attorney that they have to continue a case with them, or they go to one attorney and feel good about the interview but don't seek a second opinion. I always tell my clients, if a doctor told you a very bad or negative diagnosis, you wouldn't just stick with that doctor. You would want to see other doctors or go to other hospitals and see what else they can do to improve your health condition. Same thing with law and same thing with immigration. You can see one lawyer, and I always strongly, even I tell my clients, seek a second opinion and see what is best for you. Why? Because lawyers have different strategies. Also, you'll have different comfort levels. Maybe you're with one lawyer that doesn't speak the language of your spouse or your family, and you want the lawyer to be bilingual and speak to your entire family. Maybe you didn't like the staff operation, or you didn't feel confident, or you didn't feel that the lawyer had enough experience, or you weren't really sure he was or she was a lawyer. So very important to feel that you are with the right person and that person is addressing your needs appropriately. So always seek a second opinion with somebody that's reputable. Now, I also promised some examples that I've been practicing now 30 years, seeing over many, many years that sometimes I just think, how could this happen? Or my jaw drops in front of the client. One of them happened just last week. Yeah, it was last week, Friday. She came in, and let me explain a little bit about her story. Of course, I'm going to change the facts to protect her identity. But she's a DACA recipient. She's been here since she was only months old in the United States. She married a United States citizen. She's been married for 5 years. Hint, she has DACA. She's had it for a few years, but she was also married to a United States citizen, and she just continued with her DACA and her DACA. A year and a half goes by, and or two, being married, and she seeks counsel and seeks a lawyer that tells her, oh yeah, let's get your green card through your husband. You're going to have to go back home. You're going to have to get a waiver. It's going to take a couple years to continue to pursue this case, and it's going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars because you need to get a green card and a waiver, and you're going to have to go out, and we don't know if you're coming back in because it's always a risk. Then she said she wasn't real happy with the service. She came to see me. And I looked at the case and I said, wait a minute, you've been married to a United States citizen for 5 years and you hadn't filed before, one. Two, why are you processing a case going outside of the country, spending triple what you could spend if you immigrated in the United States? Because she's a dreamer and she has DACA, and she happened to have a parent that's abroad in her home country that is ill. I said, we can get an advance parole, you can travel, come back in, and then your husband can immigrate you in the United States without having to go abroad to the American Embassy and risking not coming back in. And it's going to cost about half or less than what the other lawyer was charging you, and it takes 6 months. So she was shocked, and she said, yeah, he did tell me that just last week. That's when I decided to get a second opinion. So she had been with the lawyer for a year and a half, but was only told she had another option after she had paid for a year and a half until a year and a half had passed. So very important to seek second opinions even after your case has been commenced, so that you feel comfortable and confident that your case is going on course and is the best option for you. I always seek the best option for my clients, not only in cost, because we have to factor everything in. So what's less expensive for the client, what's less risky, and what's fastest, because many cases can take up to 20, 22 years long. Yeah, you heard me correctly. If you're from Mexico and you have a United States citizen brother and you want to get a green card through that brother, it takes 20 years, or 19 to 21, 22 years. It's a rough estimate because it's a quota system. If you have a parent that's a U.S. citizen and you want to immigrate through this parent and you're from Mexico, it takes over 20 years. So you want to look at all the factors. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? What are the risks involved? What's the safest and easiest process for the person before you? So make sure that when you see a lawyer, you ask for all of those variables. How much? How long? and what's the safest method in your particular case. Now, don't listen to other people's cases because every case is absolutely different, but in your particular case, what's the best option? If that lawyer is honest and competent and knows his stuff and is well versed in the area of immigration law, which is very complex, that lawyer should be able to tell you both, and you will deduct from what he's told you or she's told you on each of those three factors what is best for you. So very important, and that's a little guideline and a tip for me when you see a lawyer. The other case was another interesting one. This applicant had applied for a green card, went to seek counsel from a person he thought he was a lawyer, only to find out later that the person who claimed to be a lawyer, I mean, this person was not, he didn't say, I'm a notary, et cetera, and lie to her. He told her that he was a lawyer. And only a year later did she find out that he was not a lawyer. He had never passed the bar, and he was practicing law without a license and calling himself an attorney. So that's another case. And not only that, he charged more than a lawyer would charge. He filed the wrong paperwork. The case got denied, and he wanted to charge her twice to redo the case. So be very careful. It's very easy to find out if the person you are with or you're seeking counsel from is an authorized lawyer, authorized to practice law. You go to State Bar of California. It would be statebarofcalifornia.com. Let's see, Georgia, it would be State Bar of Georgia. Montana, State Bar of Montana. Hawaii, State Bar of Hawaii, et cetera, et cetera. You just put your state in after State Bar of. Then it'll give you an icon or a search bar where you put the lawyer's name, and it will tell you how long the lawyer's been practicing, if he's been disciplined, or if he doesn't appear, it's obvious that he's not a lawyer. So be very careful, and this is another tip on how you can find out if the person you're talking to, even though they're telling you they're a lawyer, they may be lying, and you can check the veracity of his or her facts. Another case, oh, this is happening a lot. I see it a lot, and it pains me when I hear it. Lawyers are advertising heavily, both on radio, on TV, and in print, saying, if you've been here over 10 years, you can get a green card. Well, what they're doing is they're filing political asylum for people that are from countries that are peaceful. There is no strife in these countries. And they're filing bogus or phony asylum applications because once they're denied, immigration will put that person under deportation proceedings, and that applicant will have to go before an immigration judge and pursue a defense. And then they're saying, well, now that you're before a judge, you can fight a case, what's called cancellation of removal, and they say, because you've been here for 10 years. What they don't tell them is that nationally, the statistics are that out of 100 cases filed nationally before immigration judges, because someone's been here 10 years or longer, only 1 to 3% are won or approved. Yes, 1 or 3% are approved, and 97 to 99% are denied. So basically, they're putting people in the process through asylum to then hop over to see an immigration judge, to then pursue a defense before an immigration judge, paying thousands of dollars each step. And at the end, many of them, if not most, are going to get deported. So this is another thing that's happening. So careful when you hear the magic, oh, you've been here 10 years, you can get a green card, just go before a judge. Know that that's very unlikely. Now, the requirements for those cases are you have to be minimum 10 years residing in the United States continuously, have a relative that's a United States citizen or a resident, that would be a parent, a spouse, or a child, and have excellent good conduct and good moral character. So if you don't meet all of those three, you're out. And lastly, you have to show that it would cause extreme hardship to that parent, spouse, or child that's a citizen or a resident if you were deported. And that's a very high bar to meet. It's a standard that's very high. So just to say, oh yeah, I have a child that's has asthma, or I have a child that has frequent skin issues and rashes, that's not going to cut it. It has to be something really severe. Cerebral palsy, mental retardation, cancer, a rare disease where they're constantly going to medical doctors, or they were born with some physical defect or disability and they have to have surgery after surgery as they grow. Those are cases where they may have a chance. And those are the kinds of cases that the judge will say, I only have one green card in my robe and I'm going to give it to this family because of this child's issues, grave issues, and I don't want them to take the child back to their home country and the child would die because they're not going to get the medical attention that they would get in this country. So those are the cases that are really difficult to win, and it's very important that you are not taken by all this advertising that is really happening right now because of all the fear that's going on in our community under the new administration. So my tips and my warnings, and I've done this for a long time, so this comes from experience, what I'm seeing. Please don't be another victim. Let's go to questions.
Carolina Kresnar, I just renewed my DACA. I've been married for a year and a half. When can I apply for residency?
You don't tell me who you're married to. I assume that your husband is either a legal permanent resident or a citizen immediately. That's a case just like the one I just mentioned, except you waited less time. She was married 5 years, you've been married a year and a half. You could have filed paperwork through your husband immediately after getting married. We'll have to see the strategy in your particular case, if it's going to be here in the United States or it's going to be in your home country. You do have DACA, so you may be able to get a permit to travel and come back in. When you have a legal entry, you can immigrate in the United States, and it only takes 6 months if your husband is a citizen.
Blanca Cuadras, can a 71-year-old man help a 33-year-old get her papers through marriage?
Okay, I heard, can a 71-year-old man, and I didn't hear the rest, sorry. Wow, what is that about? A 40-year difference? Believe it or not, again, I've been practicing for a long, long time. I have immigrated couples where there's a huge age difference, one way or the another. The wife is older than the husband or the husband's older than the wife. Obviously, with a 40-year difference, immigration is going to be highly suspect. They're going to think that this is an arranged marriage. Now, if this man is in love with this woman's in love with this man, they marry, they have a formal wedding, they have family that attends the wedding. If the man has children of his own from maybe other relationships, they attend the wedding, they take pictures with the family, they pay taxes together, they open up credit cards, bank accounts. He puts her maybe on his retirement fund or pension. There's a lot of things that couple's going to have to do to, what's the word, meet the threshold, I'm thinking, of immigration being very doubtful of this marriage. So in my experience, if I'm going to submit a dozen documents to prove that this is a valid marriage between a husband and wife, where there may be the same age or there's a slight age difference, in a case like that, I'd send 24 proof or evidence documents to really convince immigration that this is a real marriage. It can happen. It has to be very well prepared. And remember, you're going in, not immigration saying, welcome, and how can we give you a green card? They're going to be saying, we know this is fraud, and you have the burden to prove that this is a valid marriage.
The next question is from Liz Cardozo. I came to the U.S. when I was 13, and that was in 2003. I went to school in the U.S. in 2005, but then returned to Mexico in July of that same year. In December of 2006, I came back to the U.S., and I was 16 years old. Can I be eligible for DACA?
Darn, unfortunately there was a gap there of time, and for DACA they want you to be continuously. Now they want you to be continuously as of 2010. So you did make that deadline. However, you also have to have entered before you turn 16. So I think that there'd be a problem with that case, and if you file, I don't think anything will happen to you, but you must be aware that you are turning all your information into immigration for a chance that they may think that you are eligible. And if this program gets denied or terminated, my concern is that they'll have all your information. So I would seek, like I said at the beginning of the program, I would seek the advice of 2 lawyers and review the case and see if you were eligible. I doubt it, because there was a long gap between the first time you lived here and then you went back and then you came back.
Yomaya, my cousin hired an attorney to expunge a DUI. However, she's illegal. The attorney called her and told her to come in front of a judge. Is this something normal to ask for? She's afraid to go now.
Okay, for an expungement in the state of California, every one of the 50 states in the union has different criminal laws. Immigration law is the same in all 50 states because it's federal law. However, criminal law is state law. So in California, I can give you an example. In California, yes, there's a risk of going to courts now, even as a witness, let alone as a witness or a victim, let alone as someone that's requesting relief because they've been charged with a crime. So it is a bit risky. However, in all the expungements that I've seen, I've never seen a person have to go to court. It's all done by mail. So I would talk to your lawyer and say, is there a way that my lawyer, can go in my behalf? I'm afraid to go because of ICE presence in the courts. If there isn't, maybe what the lawyer's trying to do is not an expungement, but maybe he's trying to vacate the judgment, maybe he's trying to modify a conviction, maybe he's trying to dismiss the whole case and find you innocent. So each case has different requirements for the criminal courts. Talk to your lawyer and tell them that you're afraid to go and see if there's an alternative.
Roxana Medina. I'm a U.S. citizen. My husband is in the Dominican Republic and I applied for a permanent resident visa for him. How long should I expect to wait for a response?
Good. I don't know if he's ever been in the United States, so let's assume that he's always lived in República Dominicana and he's been there and he hasn't violated any immigration laws. The process usually takes approximately 1 year because you don't need a waiver. Now, if he's lived here in the past after 97 and he's acquired illegal presence, he will need a waiver and it'll take longer, probably 1.5 years or 2. So if he's never been here, roughly the wait is about 1 year.
Claudia. I have a TPS and my lawyer is trying to get my residency. Do you think it's possible? I've been here for 17 years and have 3 kids.
Okay, well, just having TPS alone, which is temporary protected status, and it's for certain countries in the world and particularly in Central America. However, that does not turn into a green card. So you would have to have somebody petitioning for you. If your children are over 21 and they petition for you and you have TPS, yes, you might be able to immigrate. But if you don't have a spouse that can immigrate you that's legal, you will just have to wait till either your children turn 21 or there's another form of relief.
Brittany Cruz. My husband has a deportation. I'm a U.S. citizen myself and my daughter has a heart murmur. Is there anything we can do? Right now he has a permission to stay here through a deportation.
So he's abroad already, it appears? He's gone? Yeah, it seems like, okay. Well, roughly we'd have to know what kind of deportation, for what reason. Was it because of a crime? Was it because he was caught re-entering the United States? Was it because he had a case at immigration and it finalized and it ended in a denial and he was deported by a judge? So I need to know which one, because deportations can range in time to be out, anywhere from 1 year to 10 years to 20 years to for life. So we'd have to see the deportation order to see how long he has to stay out. Once that time has concurred, then you can apply for him because you're a United States citizen and apply for a green card for him. Unfortunately, the fact that your child is ill will not shorten that time. However, heaven forbid, but if your child got very ill, even though he's been deported and he's outside of the country, when there's something so grave and so serious like a child with a heart issue, then you might be able to request a humanitarian parole. That's permission for him to come in, say your child was hospitalized, and come into the United States for that purpose only. He can't stay, and he'd have to leave again and then comply with whatever the deportation order said. Then you could apply for him.
Natalie Barrantes. I'm going to adopt my grandson from Costa Rica. My son passed away 5 years ago, and my grandson's mom can no longer take care of him. How can I bring him to the U.S.?
Very well. Well, because he's in Costa Rica, you would have to travel to Costa Rica, seek a family law lawyer in Costa Rica so that a formal adoption can occur. Once you adopt him, and don't get guardianship. Guardianship is just like the mother saying, yes, you can take care of him, but he's still my son. Adoption is you go to court and a judge actually grants you paternal rights. You become the mother of your grandchild, and they'll issue a new birth certificate and you will appear as the mother. So once you do that, then you either have to live with the child in Costa Rica for 2 years, or the child has to come to the United States and live with you for 2 years, and then you can apply for a green card for him. So there are many rules for adoption cases, but the most important thing here, and the most important piece of advice I can give you, is adopt that child ASAP, because to immigrate that child, whenever that's going to be, you must have adopted the child before the child turns 16. And in some countries, an adoption can be a few months. In some countries, it could be a few years. So find that out through a competent family law lawyer in Costa Rica. And then once you find out how long it's going to take, act on it immediately so that the adoption is completed before the child turns 16 and you can later immigrate him.
Thank you so much. And this is the last question. It's from Juana Garcia. I sent my application for citizenship a month ago and haven't received an answer. My resident card expires next month. Do I need to renew my card?
Okay, first of all, citizenship is taking a little longer than it used to, naturalization. Before it was a 6-month process. So as a resident, a green card holder, you can apply for citizenship. And if you qualified and were approved, within 6 months, you'd have a U.S. passport or a certificate of naturalization and then a U.S. passport. Now it's taking longer, like 9 months to a year. And that's happening because so many people are applying for citizenship. And they're being a little more they're being more minute. They're really investigating all the cases, so it's taking longer. The fact that your green card is expiring is not an issue for you to continue becoming a citizen. However, I always say pay the extra fee to get a new green card if you're going to travel, if you've lost your job or you're thinking of moving employment, because you're going to need a card that's valid to get a new job or to travel. If you're not planning to leave your job and you're not planning to travel, don't spend another almost $600 to renew the card. Just wait for your citizenship, and when you have that, you'll be turning in the old green card, and it doesn't matter that it's expired.
I have one last question, which is a general question that we're getting asked a lot, is how long does it take to renew a permanent resident card?
Right now, that's taking a while too. That's called an I-90. That's the application to renew the green card. And people that have it expired or have lost it, or maybe they've married and they change their name, they want to get a new card. The form is the I-90 form. You can do it online. And it used to take 3 months to get a new card. Now it's taking up to 6 months to get a new card. So if you have a card that expires, and many of them do, they expire every 10 years, please look at it and apply for a new one 6 months before the card expires, not a few weeks or a month before it expires, because you're going to be without, you're still a green card holder, you're still a resident, but you're not going to have proof that you're a green card holder because the card's expired. This is the last one. One more.
Dania Rodriguez. In October of 2016, I was trying to cross the border with my mom, and they found out that I was studying in the United States with a tourist visa. How long should I wait to apply for another tourist visa?
Okay, basically what you had is a tourist visa, which allows you to come from whatever country you were living in as a tourist in the United States, but not study, not work, not live. So you were discovered at a re-entry, and they probably canceled your visa, and now you have to wait a certain amount of time to apply for a new one. Now, I don't always advise that you go right away. You can wait. Sometimes you'd have to see what your passport says and how long it says on the passport, and the denial or the cancellation of the visa. It'll have a time period usually. If not, it'll have some codes that'll say how long. But let's say it's a year. I don't recommend that you apply right away after a year, because you're going to have to show now that you've delivered some roots in your home country, or you've grown roots in home country. They basically know now that you were living here and you were studying here. So they're not going to give you a new visa to come into the United States as a tourist when they've seen that you violated the terms of it. They're going to want to see that you're there a few years back home, that you're enrolled in school, that you, if you're older, maybe that you're working, that you have property, that you have a good bank account, so that they feel confident in giving you a new visa, and that you're coming for a short time and you will return to your home country. So my recommendation is you wait as long as possible, and 2, that you develop the case and you develop evidence before you go to the embassy to show the consul. These are all the things I have in my home country. I'm not staying in the U.S. anymore. I can afford to go there and come back. I'm a tourist. I'm going to spend money there. I'm going on vacation. These are my plans. And the consul could be convinced of that and issue a new visa. Well, this is an English version, as I've explained before, for people that only speak English. Many people that watch Telemundo have spouses or family or children that are United States citizens that don't speak Spanish well. So our purpose here at Telemundo and mine is to give the information and educate everyone that needs immigration advice in both languages. However, Spanish is still up and running every Thursday, 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. East Coast time. So please watch. If you speak both languages and you still have questions and you weren't able to submit your question and get it read, please do so on Thursday. We'll be here, so I'll see you in a couple days, Thursday. And please share this information so that other people can benefit as well. See you soon. Bye-bye.